After this short video earlier that I showed you about tell me about yourself. Okay. Actually, I also have two different sample videos, but I leave this for your reference. You can check for those. Just click the linkage. Okay, then you can check for this video at home. Yeah, actually, they are quite useful. Yeah, please check for that after the class. And there's another question. Okay. For those of you who have ever had the job experience and then also have the interview experience, do you think it's appropriate to ask about the salary during the interview process? Or negotiate a little bit about the salary during the interview process? Sally?
Yeah, I think you have to be very careful. You can't ask it right in the beginning, or it depends on the situation. For example, if you have to interview with the HR first, and then maybe another interviewer, and then finally the manager, then you can see the performance or how it goes during the interview. If you feel that they don't really think that you are suitable, then I wouldn't ask.
You wouldn't ask, yeah?
If I think that there's a chance I could be the right candidate, then I would ask.
Okay. Then you will see the feeling, like kind of you have they are really interested in you, yeah. So then you might ask a little bit further there. Yeah. Okay. Eva?
In Slovakia, it's easier for the candidates because by law, the
You can
company
ask.
has to reveal the salary already.
Oh, really?
So when you are
You mean before the interviewing process?
exactly. So when you are reading about the vacant job position, you already know the salary they offer. That is by law, set by law. So you're coming to the interview and you know what you can count with.
So is that the salary negotiable or not?
Yeah, they are allowed to
You can negotiate.
only a range, salary range.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think it's very appropriate to negotiate at the interview.
Yeah, but how about, you mean it provides a range or a particular amount?
A range. Well, the companies can choose. Either they set a particular amount.
Yeah.
So when a candidate comes to the interview, he or she knows what he can.
What would be the kind of the
exact amount?
The range then? Yeah.
Or a range, or exact amount.
Also. Okay. Yeah, I think that is also a good law then, right? A good regulation. Yeah. Then to know about that, then you can justify yourself. Can you take it, or does this salary fit with your expectation or not? It's kind of more clear then. Here I would like to show you this short video. Actually to handle with this salary issues in the interview, it's a little bit critical. Generally, it's not that appropriate. Okay, if we do not have this regulation, that's
What do I do if they want to
take
discuss
a look.
salary in my interview?
There is a simple answer to this. Don't. Not only should you never be the one to bring up salary negotiations in an interview, you want to try to avoid the discussion altogether. If the employer insists, then you must handle the matter carefully. Here are a few tips. If asked, always be honest about the rate of pay in your current or last job. If they decide to hire you, there is a good chance they will eventually find out what it was. So it is not to your advantage to inflate or give them a different figure. Do not be the first to name a figure regarding compensation for the position you're interviewing for. You do not want to lowball yourself or potentially price yourself out of the job. Do what you can to deflect answering the question, but if they do insist, the best response you can give will be,
Based on the responsibilities that are involved with the position and the level of importance I know that this company places on the role, I am confident that the right candidate will be properly compensated.
of all the interviewing questions you will face, this is one answer you will want to memorize. It is by far the safest and best route to take. And remember, try not to have the salary discussion. You will not help your chances in an interview.
But actually, I would say like for like the beginners, okay, new graduate, and well, of course, then you can, if you are not that sure about their salary range, toward to the end, you also see the climate, the feeling that are they really interested in you or not. Yeah, so then you can check a little bit what would be their pay range. Yeah, you can check a little bit because if it's really, kind of below your expectation or below the industry, I don't think it's also appropriate for you to take that. Yeah, because at that time you might gonna also have different job offer. Yeah, check a little bit. Yeah, so then at least you have a little bit idea in your mind. Yeah, but then for me, actually, I also had some experience before. Yeah, because as we know, like first to have some particular job experience, you might then switch to different job position or different companies. Then the purpose, of course, is to pursue for better salary, right? Of course, also a little bit kind of self-achievement. And then at the time, if actually here in Taiwan, we do not have this culture to reveal the salary for most company. And what I did before is, of course, also towards the end of the job interview, and also you also see the opportunity, or are they interested in you or not. Then I think I would check a little bit. What I did, is a little bit in a more indirect way. I would tell them, of course, I like this job opportunity, sort of, and in my previous job, I would tell them about my pay range from my previous job then, or for example, at that time, I was also employed by other company. I would tell them currently my salary, and then of course I would also tell them honestly. Then I also expect a little bit, upgraded for your salary, right? It's not it doesn't make sense for you to switch to different job position and then your salary is a lot lower. Then it also doesn't make sense for you to switch the job. Yeah, so then you let them know, what will be your expectation at this some certain level, then you can accept that. Yeah, so then of course it's so, for the employer side, if they are really interested in you, then of course they will give you this offer that you request for, or meet your expectation. All right, so that is another way, okay, for you to a little bit kind of give them a little bit clue, okay, or a little bit hints, for this company that you interview with, right? So earlier we also mentioned about like toward the end of the job interview, okay, of course you also have to ask some questions for the interviewer. It also shows your interest on this job position, okay? But then the questions itself for you to ask are very important because you are almost towards the end of the process. So then there are some questions. Never, please don't ask, right? If you click this, it also has a linkage. It also, has a video to show you about like some, like those questions. No questions, right? So here, for example, what does your company do, right? Can you ask a question like this? Exposure that you didn't really do the research about the company, right? Do you do background check, etc.? Do you do drug tests? Or what public transportation is nearby? Those are quite fundamental information. You can check for them in advance, right? Okay, so some questions, don't ask, right? Okay. So then the third issue related to administration, as we mentioned earlier, there are several different type of interview, style, all right? Okay, for example, one-on-one, this is also the most often approach to be used. Sequential interview, the difference between these two, sequential interview is also one-on-one. But then, there are several different, let's say like interviewer, right? For example, during, on that day or on that, in that particular section, you interview with this particular interviewer in one meeting room. After that, maybe for 10 minutes, after that, you go to another meeting room to interview with another interviewer, right? It's also one-on-one, but it's a bit sequential, right? They don't do it like kind of like as a panel interview. Right, so here is the panel interview. As we mentioned earlier, how many candidates? One, only one candidate is interviewed simultaneously by a group of interviewers. Okay, and earlier we also mentioned about this mass interview. How many candidates? Several candidates. Okay, interviewed simultaneously with a panel of interviewers. Right, and also has a different type of interview style, like speed dating, okay, which indicates that there are some company that invite the applicant come to their office maybe for a day or for half a day, and then they put them together with the employee, the staff, okay, and of course the purpose is to observe these applicants, right? For video interview, right? Nowadays it's also quite popular because of some kind of distance, okay? So then plenty of interview has been done via the video, okay? So then you have to test the equipment, it's very important, right? So what kind of interview is this? Panel or mass? This is panel, right? This is the candidate. These are the interviewer, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, difference between the panel interview and the mass interview. I've already talked about it. Which one is more stressful?
Panel.
Panel or mass? Depends.
For me,
For you, panel or mass?
for me, the mass interview would be more stressful. Because
Panel or mass?
mass.
Mass.
Because there are some people who naturally like to dominate during discussions.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give other people a chance to speak
Uh-huh.
as much as they would want to speak themselves. So, in that way, for those who are kind of more reserved, although they have to try to speak anyway, but
Yeah.
it would be stressful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Actually, mass interview is more stressful because you know what? If you are the first one has to answer the question, because generally it will be the interviewer asks you the question, and then if there's, for example, 5 candidates in there, and then actually for each candidate you have to answer the same questions, right? So if you are the first one, of course, then you don't have time to think. But if you are the last one, then all your answer has been answered by the previous candidates, right? You cannot say that I think my idea will be similar to the previous 4, all right? Yeah. So actually, the mass interview, okay, it's quite stressful, right? Because there's several, actually. Have you ever had this experience to be in this mess? You did? Yeah? You feel stressful? Yeah? And were you the one being picked?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, actually I also have been in this, I also have this experience, the mass interview. Yeah, it's really quite stressful then. Right, so there are another type of interview, shadow interview, okay, that is, a little bit similar to what I mentioned earlier. Put the candidates, okay, the applicant, okay, they invite the applicant come to the office. Some of them, they might invite them to stay in the office for 2 hours or for the whole day, it depends. Yeah, so then whatever the staff does, and he or she just, stay with him or her, yeah, or kind of a little bit observe or help this staff in the office a little bit, okay, and during the time, and then, for example, you also go to the lunch with the staff. Yeah, so then during that time, you feel a little bit more relaxed, you can chat a little bit, and of course, you also observe this applicant, yeah, because sometimes if you just only go for the interviewing process for 20 minutes, it's a little bit hard to identify this person's personality, right? So this is also a good approach then. So then for all these different interview styles that we mentioned, how useful are they to predict for the job performance? Earlier we mentioned about situational or behavior interview, remember? Which one provide better validity? Situational or behavior?
Behavior.
Yeah, a little bit hard to make the decision. Situational. Yeah, to ask some hypothetical questions. Yeah, actually it's provide better validity, right? And which type of interview are generally more useful for predicting job performance? Structure or unstructured? We talked about it, yeah, structure. And which type of interview tend to more valid than the panel interview? One-on-one, all right? One-on-one interview, okay? You can know a little bit more about this candidate's details, information. Right, so regarding to the interviewer, right? Of course, you also have to show your friendliness, yeah. For those questions that have been asked, for those of you who have this interview experience, what will be the first question asked by the interviewer before the real question?
How are you? How are you?
Yeah. How do you feel today? And how do you come here? Yeah. You take the bus or take the, sort of, they ask something a little bit kind of irrelevant to this job position then. Okay, I think the purpose is try to calm you down, yeah, because as an interviewee, okay, generally you don't feel relaxed, right? In this, for you to confront with all this interviewer over there. All right, first first impression, okay? Yeah, of course, you also have to give this candidates, good first impression that show your friendliness. And then the mistake that you might be made from this interviewer, be like kind of they don't clarify what the job require, so then they ask some question or a little bit irrelevant then, all right? And the candidate's order, arrow, okay, do you know what is mean by that? For the candidates to, go for this job interview, do you know which, for example, if we have 7 candidates, which, for the order, which one would be better to, for the interviewing process? Which order would be better for them to pick? Actually, it has some theory, yeah.
I think the last one.
First one, last one?
The last one and the first one, because normally people will remember the thing that just passed to them, right? So the last one, the interviewer still remember the story about them. Yeah, so maybe I think the last
Might get
one.
better opportunity.
Yeah. But it depends if someone really do the best job in the interview, and it can compare between 7 people of the interviewee, right? Yeah.
Let's check from this, have the interviewer experience. Do you think which, for example, has 7 candidates?
I don't know why, but the managers where I work, after my round of interviews, I didn't use the didn't choose the order.
Uh-huh.
But they wanted assumingly the best one as the last one. They wanted to see the best one as the last person who comes in. But I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
For them was the
Yeah, so then the order for them to select will be more toward to, as you know, like which order, for example, 7 candidates.
So the first one would be
Okay, maybe let's like can reduce it 5 candidates.
so from the one who they think they don't want to hire till the last one.
They make a comparison,
Yeah,
so it's not really by the order. Yeah, of course, order is not that decisive, but then actually it also influences a little bit. What do you think? Which order would be better if there are 5 candidates?
I would think that they would pick the first one.
The first one.
Yeah. It's usually they ask for the best one to come to interview first. If they think that this is really the candidate they want, they will stop the interview with the others.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, actually, the best order would be like in the middle. It's not the first one or the last one. Of course, if the last one that is very impressive, like he or she is quite talented, of course, it also impress the interviewer. But then if though this, because if it is not that good to be the first one, but then sometimes the order we cannot really choose, right? The first one actually has a little bit inferior situation. Do you know why? Because for the interviewer, they do not have sort of the benchmark to compare with. Yeah, for the first one, yeah. So then, after the first one, then, of course, then the next one, then they compare with the previous one. Yeah, so then generally for the interviewer, the order that would be better would be in the middle, but not toward to the last. Yeah, but only if like towards to the last one, then they are really outstanding. So then of course also impress the interviewer a lot. Because for me, I also have this experience. Like next week, we're gonna have this new applicant for our program, the interviewing process. And I remember like last year we interviewed for for example, 40 students, And of course at the beginning, at the very first one, then the student, they speak, and then you do not have any benchmark to compare with. So then for you to grade for students, well, it will be a little bit conservative. So then later, then you grade for them, you compare it from the previous ones. Yeah, so then actually for the following ones, especially in the middle ones, they will have a little bit of advantage. Yeah, so then here you mentioned about as an interviewer, of course you have to try to avoid from this, order's arrow, right? Okay, so, and then if I hire under pressure, it's also not that good then, okay? And some interviewer, for example, as we mentioned, for the interviewee, the first impression is very important. Okay, so then there are some interviewer, they always, do you judge people from your first impression of them? We do, right? Some people, for the first impression, even though you don't talk to them, but you just feel like you like them or you don't like them, yeah, from the first impression. Okay, so for the interviewer, they are human beings, yeah, but then, we also try to avoid from that. For some people, they don't like this person, and then they will show on their face, this body language, okay, shows nonverbal behavior, right? So it's very important, okay? And effect of this interviewee's personal characteristic. Okay, for example, if in this meeting room, interviewer are male. Okay, and then it comes in, for the candidates, it's a female or male. I think it also, for them, also make a little bit difference then, right? If that's a female, pretty lady, of course they feel maybe more delighted, sort of, right? So we have to avoid from all this issues then, all right? So guidelines for conducting an effective interview, such as design structure interview. Earlier we already mentioned about it, right? And review for some background before the interview. Okay, establish rapport. It's like at the beginning you try to calm the interviewee down then, right? Okay, so and also the interviewer also need to be trained in advance. This is very important. Yeah, because there are some really incompetent interviewer. So then of course it also influence, there are some talented people, they won't come to, they won't take this job offer, right? So then there will be a big loss for the company then, right? Use a rating scale to rate for the answers. Okay, so this is the issue related to earlier, we talked about the structured questions. Okay, for most of the interviewer, they use this structured question, and then the best way would be they use this rating scale to rate for all candidates' answers. So then it will be standardized. Okay, so you won't have this bias then, right? Okay. So there are some sample interview questions, right, by different dimensions that you are, looking for from these candidates. Okay, for your reference here, assertiveness or motivation, decision making, problem solving, yeah, etc. Yeah, so actually now you can also search for plenty of this interviewing questions in advance, so that you can practice a little bit in the near future. If you have this opportunity, you can also do that, right? So this is profile-oriented interview questions related to the trade. Okay, yeah, this is a competency model. Okay, related to the competency model, we mentioned about it earlier, right? And then regarding to for the interviewee, right? Some guidance, of course, preparation. Earlier in the video that I show you, okay, it's very essential. Okay, prepare for that. Search for the company's information. Search for the interviewer's information if you could. Okay, and then uncover the interviewer's real needs. Okay, during the interviewing process, okay, the first question can make it more concise. All right, and then try to know a little bit more about the interviewer's needs. Could you tell me more about that? If the question itself is not that clear, of course it's also okay. After you are sure and concise answer, then you can ask about like another. I hope my answer, kind of answer your question. Or could you tell me a little bit more about your question? If you are not that clear about the question itself, okay, relate yourself. This is a concept as similar to the video that shows. Okay, tailor yourself to the interviewer's needs. Then, all right. Think before you answer. Pause for maybe 1 or 2 seconds only, not minutes. All right. Pause, think, and speak. All right, yeah. Okay, appropriate closing. Okay, make yourself look professional. Handshake firmly. Okay, and look energetic. Okay, make a good first impression. How to make yourself good first impression for the interviewer? Huh? Body language is what? Smile. Yeah. All right. Don't go into the meeting room with your poker face. Yeah. Even though this morning you had a big fight with your mom. All right. You still have to smile. All right. Yeah. Okay.
May I just add, we had one, from my experience, one guy coming to an interview.
Yeah.
And before the interview, he asked to go to the bathroom. But he spent like 25 minutes in the bathroom.
wait. It's at the beginning.
Yeah, at the very beginning.
Hasn't the interview hasn't started yet?
Not yet. So it was a very bad impression.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
something, yeah.
25 minutes.
Yes.
Maybe he was nervous.
I think
and
he was nervous
preparing
or
his-
something. Of course, we didn't ask him what's the matter.
So later he did come back.
Yes,
But
he was very strange. Right?
yeah, it's the behavior is
How
so.
to make a good first impression.
Yeah, exactly. If you really need to, yeah, but actually before the interview process, just go to the toilet. Yeah, that is very important. Yeah. Generally before actually I did that. Yeah, because for me, for all of us, will be, be there, a little bit earlier. For example, like 15 or 20 minutes earlier. So then it won't be that rush. And then like maybe, if you check that there's kind of 10 minutes left, then you go to the toilet. Yeah, and of course it also calm yourself a little bit down. Yeah, and then it'll be the time, then you go into this meeting room, and then it won't happen like this. Then you'll be, in the toilet for like 20 minutes. It's also a little bit strange. Yeah. If I'm the interviewer, I don't think I will hire this person. Yeah, because it's sometimes for some behavior, it shows that, the way, for example, if I am the supervisor, and then if you are that kind of person, that indicates maybe you're easy to get nervous. Yeah, so that indicates that I will assume that you are that kind of person, you cannot work under pressure. Yeah, so then, it also, well, you might lose this job opportunity then. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so first impression, smile, and also, as we know, the first question would be, tell us about yourself. Then you have to know how to sell yourself in how much time? About 30 seconds at the very beginning. Okay, actually, it's already determining your destiny. All right, either you're gonna get this job opportunity or not. Yeah, actually, it's a little bit hard to change the interviewer's perception. I think for those of you who have this experience, actually at the beginning, yeah, when you see this person, when he or she start to speak, to address for his or her opinion, actually it's already, the decision already been made. Yeah.